Have I ever advised anyone not to crowdfund? Yes. Not to say that they won't be successful in crowdfunding at all, but they aren't ready yet. I mean, the biggest question is, how much do you think I can raise? I don't know. How big is your online audience? Because you're going to need them in order to raise money. So if you have never stepped foot into the online space, you really don't know how that Twitter thing works, or you don't even have your own personal profile on Facebook, it's whoa, okay, you're not even close to being ready to start a Kickstarter campaign. First, you need to get that. First, you need to get that piece going. First, you need to be used to connecting with an audience. I'm not saying you need millions of people, but you need a core group of people. Because those are the ones who are going to help you to spread out. You're not going to be able to spread word of mouth all by yourself. You're going to have a group of people to do that. And it's going to be dependent on how active those people are and how many are they as to how much money you can raise. You know, and there is no figure. If you have 5,000 followers, you should be able to raise $30,000. No, I don't know. There are people who have 5,000 followers and only 100 people gave money. So 30,000 is not going to, you know, if they give $10 a piece, you're going to get a couple thousand. You know, you're not. There's also a huge correlation between the number of people who are lurkers and the people who actually will take money out of their wallet and give it to you. And in presentations that I give, I show Freddie Wong as an example. He's, you know, on YouTube and has raised 2 times on Kickstarter. Significant amounts of money. But if you look at how many subscribers Freddie Wong has on his YouTube channel, it's 4.7 million subscribers. So you would think, oh, he can raise millions. Only 10,000 of those people gave money in any degree in his last Kickstarter. So it was very lot less than what he has as his followers. So we were talking about in these recent Canadian workshops, the 99-1 rule, which Julie Giles talks about. She's from Green Hat Digital. And she said 90% of your following are lurkers. They're people who are just watching. They never participate. They've clicked your page of like and they've never come back, or they just see you in the newsfeed and they never do anything about it. 9% of those people will retweet you, will put a thumbs up next to a comment or leave a comment, but they're not tight to you. You know, they participate, but they aren't going to convert. Only 1% of your super core, hardcore fans will ever do anything to help you, that actually actively spread the word, support everything you do, pay money to go to your events, show up if you have a meetup, that kind of thing. So when you're looking at your stats online and you think that all those 5,000 people are a sale, you'll be very disappointed when push comes to shove about how many people actually pony up for the money. So I would say that if you haven't even gotten started, no kind of crowdfunding effort should be started. If you have gotten started, you're going to have to be realistic. It's better to go over your goal than it is to not make your goal. So set it realistically. You know, how much do you really need to do what it is, and is that the main goal behind this campaign? Is it to raise money, or is it mainly to build an audience, to build up that participation? And money's nice, but that's not the main idea behind this effort, is to grow beyond your core, because a campaign like that usually helps you to get more people beyond the people that you're already engaged with, because they help you, and there's an impetus to it because there's a deadline, as opposed to constantly saying, hey, you know, retweet my stuff, hey, share my stuff. You know, that's just kind of an arbitrary effort. If you have a campaign where there's a deadline and you're all working towards some kind of, you know, goal, then there's reason to activate those people in a certain time frame, and that's what a campaign is. You know, it's a limited amount of time that you're doing some effort. If money is your only thing, then you're going to have to be careful about how much you're asking to raise, because it depends on how helpful the audience that you already have is going to be to you.
I thought about it. I feel successful. I really believe in crowdfunding in a lot of ways. I feel for it to be most successful, you need to have the support of everyone involved. And for me, David's been like beyond supportive, like overwhelmingly supportive of the project. But he wasn't a producer on the film. He would say this too. He wasn't interested in the process. He wanted to let me go make it. And I sort of felt to run a successful crowdsourcing campaign for it, it would have needed his involvement, because I felt it would have been sort of disingenuous to be, the way to run a successful campaign would have been like, hey, Sedaris fans, do you want to see a Sedaris movie? And it felt, would have sort of, I didn't feel comfortable asking him. Maybe he would have helped me and done a video, I'm not sure, but it felt wrong to ask him, you know, for me, and I felt without his support, it felt sort of wrong to run a campaign for it. Now that there's a finished film, if it had, we've closed distribution, but if I was doing a self-distribution, I would consider it now that there's a finished film, and now that I have interviews with David and elements I can use with his permission, of course, but I feel like it's each project's its own, and some projects are meant to be crowdfunded, and this one just wasn't one of them. I didn't feel like I could engage the community in the right way, and also we had some actors attached, but they ended up not being the actors in the final film, and I felt like we would have needed to utilize them, but I felt uncomfortable with that because I didn't have a working relationship with them yet, and they were, slightly bigger names than what ended up in the movie, just by the nature of whoever, at the time I cast them, they weren't bigger names, and they got bigger names and got too busy to be in the film, and I ended up with a cast I could have only dreamed of having anyway, so I'm thrilled about that, but it felt strange to bring them involved. It just didn't feel like I could do it the right way. And I feel like when I look at the really successful crowd campaigns, sure, there's some outliers that go into the $300,000 and $400,000, but I really feel like the most ambitious you really should get, to expect is at the most, 100. I feel like even the Canyons, I think they ended up going to like 130, but you have Paul Schrader and Bret Easton Ellis, who each have massive, loyal, decades-long fan bases. And even then, they pushed a lot on that campaign, and they hit, which is an incredible amount of money, but that still wasn't enough for me to make the film. So I also felt uncomfortable going out there and being like, give me $100,000 and maybe I'll be able to find the other however much we need. It just felt wrong for this project, but I hope I can do something one day that I can make cheaply enough. This movie had to be shot on location, it had 30 speaking parts, it had, a different location every day, all exteriors, it just had things that naturally made it expensive. But I hope to do something. If I did something small, if I did a movie I could shoot on my own and with minimal crew and minimal locations, and here in Los Angeles, I would totally consider doing crowdsourcing that way.
So, here's the deal. Everybody that I talk to about crowdfunding, right, said it's called crowdfunding. My assertion is that it should be called something else. Because everybody thinks that the maximum benefit of crowdfunding is, of course, funding, right? Get your money. And that's true. That's a benefit, and it's a big benefit, and it's important, right? But there's also a wholly unappreciated sort of dynamic that happens when you crowdfund. Okay, backing up. The old way of distributing, the old way of raising money before crowdfunding existed, thousands of days ago, right, was you would have two ways that you could get an audience to raise their hand that they're a fan of yours, right? There was buy the DVD, we're talking about films now, okay? They'd either buy the DVD or go to the theater, right? And in those two ways, it was binary in themselves of whether they would raise their hand. They would either buy it or they would not buy it. So you would make your film for 2 years, right? And you might tell your audience that it's coming. There's going to be a way you can help us out just when the DVD comes, or it's in theaters, and go buy that ticket or buy that DVD. And then when it happens, they can either pay $10 for the ticket of the theater or not pay. Or they can pay $20 for the DVD or not pay. That's it. So there are three kinds of audience members, all right? There is the first kind, that is the person who might have heard about the film, might have been interested in the film, maybe you had something on the web, maybe there was an ad, and they're like, okay, I think I'll see that film. But just on the merits of the film, what they heard, they'll go. Okay, that's kind number one. Kind number two is, I don't know about this film, but I like Karen. I like her style, I like her work, I will see this movie because I like that other thing she did. So they're fans of you, and they're not so sure about the movie, but they'll go because of you. That's kind two, right? Then there's kind number three, which is, I don't care what you do, I'm giving you money to do it, I'm going to help you do it, I'm going to come do it, I'm your mother, I'm your brother, I'm your husband, I'm your son, I'm, whatever. Those are your fanatical, unconditional helpers, okay? So you got 1, 2, and 3, right? In the old way, you didn't know which was which. You couldn't get in touch, you couldn't differentiate your fan base, you didn't know, some people just came because they wanted to see the film, some people came because they saw your old film, and some people came because they would do anything you tell them, right? So, in the new way, and finally, those three people all had one option. They could either buy it or not buy it. So if they kind of wanted to see it but weren't sure, and then they bought, they just paid $10. If they really wanted to see it, they paid $10. If they were crazy about you and totally would see anything you did, they paid $10. Now they might pay $10 twice and buy someone else a ticket, or pay it 10 times and give someone else, 100 people tickets or whatever, buy a bunch of DVDs for people, but they only could do that thing, right? The revolution of crowdfunding, and again I think it should be called something else, is that now you can pull all of those people all the way into your process, starting the moment you think, I should make a movie, right? And so now you go out to your immediate community, and that of course includes the number 3s, your mom, your sister, your brother, whatever. It might include the number 2s, right, which are people who saw your other films, so you have a list. It probably could include number 1s, because through doing your other things you have some people who might be interested in the film you're just thinking of, right? But now what you're offering isn't, hey, I'm going to make this movie and someday pay me $10 to go see it in theater, or give me $20 for a DVD. Now what you're suddenly doing is you're unsealing all of the value in the creation of the artistic piece. There's value all the way from the moment you start thinking about it to the moment you have that DVD or the ticket, right? And that value exists in people's interest in the subject, their interest in you, or their just fanatical support of any of those things, the subject or you or your career. So now what you can do is when you have the idea, you say, hey, I'm thinking of making a romance in Italy, okay? And it's going to be about 2 old people. Okay? They're senior citizens. So I'm really excited. And so you start sharing that in your social network. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say anybody who wants to be involved in this way or that way or the other way can, by sharing with me something you have, which is maybe money or time, and in exchange I'm going to give you the experience of creation of that thing that you love. Everybody who's a fan of romance movies, everybody who's a fan of Italy movies, everybody who's a fan of movies about senior citizens, and of course everyone who's a fan of me, right? So you can give perks based on the experience of creation. So you can say, hey, we're going to have an opportunity. You can get in communication with people about what should the film be about. I have this idea and that idea. You can start communicating with all these people. You can start offering, hey, if you want your name to be the name of the hotel that the main characters have dinner at, it'll cost $150. You can come on the set. You can hang out. People start to get excited and be involved. Then what you start to do is through the process of there's also ways that you can offer an experience of meeting you and meeting all of the other people involved. Maybe there's fans of the actors. Maybe there's people you're going to shoot on location in Italy. Maybe you can say, for this amount of money, join us on location in Florence, and and that cost you $2,000. We charge $8,000. Maybe people really love you, and it has nothing to do with the movie, but they love you, so you say, hey, I'm going to cook you dinner, and that's $600. Whatever. Pick a number. The point is that what it taps into is human beings' desire to be involved in an artistic endeavor that takes years, but they don't have years. They might be an accountant or a lawyer, or they're a mom and they just made that choice. But they want to touch the filmmaking process, and they want to touch the people they're fans of, and they can pay for it, and they will. Because before, all they could do was pay $10 to go to a theater, right? Or $20 to buy a DVD. But now they can pay more, and they can have their name involved. They can be involved with someone they love. They can be involved with the whole process of movie making or specific kinds of movie making. And so what that does, at the end of the day, after you've figured out all those things that you can offer and as a perk and get all these people involved, is you've moved people who are casually interested, the number 1s, into number 3s, right? Where they're crazy about you because they're invested in the film, they have their name on the hotel, they were on set, they know all the actors, they know the guy who does craft services, this is their movie. And so what happens is by the time that you get to the end of production, which in the old days was where you would start even trying to find an audience, what do you have? You have all of these fans, first of all, who never would have even been involved with you. Then you have, of those fans, a giant number of number 1s, which would have been, maybe I'll see the movie. They're shifted over to, I'm a wild